All these cases against Donald Trump, you need some witnesses. The government has to apply pressure to get people to talk to them. And that's where this guy comes in. The whole thing about the documents, and you heard Robert Hur and Joe Biden and getting off scot-free. I'll get to that soon. But first, Donald Trump is still in trouble over this nonsense. In part, quite frankly, thanks to this guy. I don't know how much I blame him. His name is Brian Butler. He worked for Donald Trump for many years at Mar-a-Lago and maybe other facilities. And they got along really well. But then an atrocity happened. Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI August 8th, 2022. I'll always remember that moment where I was. I felt like the whole world had shifted. I didn't understand anything, really, for a few minutes. The FBI? The FBI? Well, they did it. They shouldn't have. You know, the FBI, they're kind of banking on prestige they accumulated decades ago, and for people to somehow remember that. And some people do, and think that the FBI are, oh, it's a great law enforcement agency. No, it's crummy. It needs to be totally dismantled and reformed. New name. But when the FBI shows up like they did to our friend Mr. Brian Butler, people get nervous.
Why are you speaking out publicly with your story now?
Well, I mean, it's been almost a year since FBI agents showed up at my house when my wife was at home. And, you know, over the course of the last year, emotionally, it's been a roller coaster.
So the FBI shows up at his house. He works for Donald Trump. I could see that rocking his world, right? I mean, he probably grew up thinking that the FBI, the DOJ, right? They're the good guys. Of course they are. Well, he doesn't know what we know about how they become a partisan weapon used by Democrats. He's going off the old information, not the new. So the FBI, they must have something really, really important to talk to Mr. Naive about. Let's hear the crux of his story. This is what he had to offer the FBI.
We got to the airport. I ended up loading all the luggage I had, and he had a bunch of boxes.
You noticed that he had boxes?
Oh, yeah. They were the boxes that were in the indictment, the white banker's boxes. That's what I remember loading. We were just taking them out of the Escalade, piling them up. I remember they were all stacked on top of each other, and then we're lifting them up to the pilots.
How many boxes was it?
You know, they asked me in the interview, and I believe it was 10 to 15. At the same time he's going in there, the boxes are going from somewhere into a vehicle, which are eventually going to the plane, which I load. Look, I didn't even know what I was moving until I was at the plane, and that's when I remember moving boxes.
Wow, that's a lot of boxes. Boxes. I remember when they indicted Trump, right? The pictures of all the boxes. There were boxes all over the place. There were boxes on the stage. There were boxes in the bathroom. There were boxes in the storage room. There were boxes all over the place. They wanted us to be really freaked out by these boxes. Folks, there's nothing to be freaked out about. Because of all those boxes, how many classified documents did the FBI actually get? How many? It's in the indictment. 102 documents at Mar-a-Lago. 102 pages of material. Here's one box. Here's 120 pages worth of stuff. It fits, all right? I like to make this point. Those pictures were designed to scare people and mislead people, maybe even our friend Mr. Naive. How many times did he tell the box story and what Sam said to Fred, who said to this guy and that guy? How many times did Jack Smith and his boys talk to Mr. Naive?
I should be clear. Jack Smith's investigators sought you out. How many times do you think have you talked to investigators now?
I'd say probably between 4 and 5 times.
And that's harassment. The FBI, 4 or 5 times to talk about those boxes. Oh, but there was also the security cameras at Mar-a-Lago. I don't think that was on the warrant, actually, the security cameras. But there are security cameras because it's not an ordinary home. It's a great big palatial club, and people are there. Check this out.
Yuscil Taveras he was the IT employee at Mar-a-Lago that in the indictment it says Carlos had the conversation with about deleting the server, right?
Correct. But that's the first I had ever heard of that, is when a friend tells me that my friend's in trouble.
All right, I barely know what's going on at this point, okay? It is so ludicrous, all of this stuff. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is throwing around this junk all over Delaware and Maryland and Washington, D.C. and Virginia and the garage. But I do know this, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. The idea, take a look at this, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Now, folks, did the Founding Fathers, did they know about security cameras, right? You know, we have these things that can watch the room for 24/7 all the time, hallways, whatever. They weren't thinking about that. You got your documents, you got your boxes. Now you want to see all of that footage? It is crazy. Mr. Naive here, though, again, he trusts the FBI. He trusts the government. Quick review why you shouldn't at this point. Certainly not if you're Donald Trump, okay? Who remembers Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? This has all been swept under the rug, but top-level FBI executives plotted for Trump to lose the 2016 election, and they are still mad. Anybody remember Jim Comey? Yeah, before Mueller, the Mueller report, there was Jim Comey. This guy was so utterly fireable, they investigated Trump for firing the fireable guy. Even Democrats wanted this guy gone. It is insane. Back to Mr. Naive, all right? Here he talks about, there's something to this, actually. There's something to this. Not about Trump, but what they're doing, what the FBI, what the culture is doing. Take a look.
This is the thing I see. This guy has, the former president has divided the nation like I've never seen before. And he's now divided like my best friend since I was 19 years old, almost. You know, we've been friends for so long. And just think, now you're just, I don't know. It's just very, it sucks.
All right. His friend worked at Trump, and the guy has been indicted, and they're not talking to each other because this guy's a witness essentially against him. And the government, totalitarian states, I heard that they like to do that, you know, get friends to turn on friends, family members to turn on family members. This is the excess. Trump is not dividing this country. How about the people who tried to sabotage his administration in 2016, 2017, 18, 19? The DOJ, the FBI, they're still at it. They're still at it. You want to talk about dividing the country? Listen, I mean, if people believe that this is a good thing, transgender, whatever, drag queens hanging around with children, that's where our leaders are right now. We don't have to be united right now, actually. This is bad. This is horrible. And those who think it's good, I don't want to be united with them. Those who think the border should be wide open, where is the compromise with those people? How do you find unity? I actually don't think there is any unifying over that issue, but people can be persuaded. This is what's going on. We're the good guys. We're not the bad guys. And meanwhile, Joe Biden, Corvette, all that junk, all that classified stuff he had no right to in the garage, and he gets off scot-free. Talk about a rigged system. But we're still in the game. All right, what's next? Cassidy Hutchinson. I had her number 2 years ago. I thought that she was very, well, not to be believed, quite frankly. I found that she lacked credibility. Even when she said things, they weren't of any significant import. Very strange. The media embraced her, so did Democrats and Liz Cheney, because of the way she looked, quite frankly. Looked like a star witness, so she must be a star witness.
Cassidy Hutchinson was an exemplary witness who demonstrated remarkable courage and character.
Cassidy Hutchinson made a brave choice today.
Look, I think that what Cassidy Hutchinson did was an unbelievable example of bravery and of courage. and patriotism in the face of real pressure.
She was a great witness. She was absolutely precise. She was just brilliant.
A 26-year-old patriot.
All right, and it goes on like this. Why? What do they like? They like the way she looked. Now, the January 6th committee, they put together that report, which in and of itself is I think, a crime. It's a corrupt document, political document. It does nothing to talk about the actual failures, insecurity, which happened on January 6th. And finally, we have a government document from the House Administration's Subcommittee on Oversight. This is Congressman Loudermilk's work, and it's fantastic and also very disturbing. They write that since Liz Cheney's committee failed to sufficiently investigate the security failures, as a result, the Capitol is no safer today than it was when the Select Committee was created. In order to properly protect the institution in the framework of American democracy, Congress must take a serious look at why the Capitol was so ill-prepared and what security changes are needed to ensure adequate protection. Can you believe it that they actually didn't do it? You know, all this time, all this politics, and Cassidy Hutchinson, one of my favorite parts of this report, I mean, they catch her. They catch her. She was, they believe, deceptive, and I think they have a great case here. In finding after finding, the testimony of 4 White House employees directly contradicts claims made by Cassidy Hutchinson. It goes on to say, her public testimony is directly contradicted by the White House employees and the U.S. Secret Service agents' transcribed interviews, which were never released publicly. More, there's more. Everything she said, they found a big problem with. She tells a new version of events and explicitly contradicts many statements she made under oath in her initial 3 transcribed interviews. And it goes on, all right? There's a huge problem here. The other wild thing is, even her stories actually weren't significant. Yet they made this person the star. They're reorganizing the government based on what she said. Listen to this.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor. The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall.
All right, if that's true, what difference does it make? It's gossip. It's gossip. I don't think it is true, but it's gossip. It's incredible. They feasted on this, yet they neglected, why was there only one cop guarding the Capitol in this critical avenue of approach? You see that? At 11, that is Peace Circle. There's one Capitol police officer because of politics, because of Nancy Pelosi. It's all in this baby. We'll have more when I come back.